Hello and welcome to EflowsNet Interviews, a program to discuss the latest policy, science, and practice of environmental flows with the people making it happen. I'm Michael McLean, Professor of Ecohydrology at IHE Delft in the Netherlands. The 2007 Brisbane Declaration is well known to the eFlows community as the source of the most precise and widely agreed definition of environmental flows. The declaration came at the 2007 River Symposium in Brisbane, Australia, and included key findings on the need for e-flows and a global action agenda to guide the efforts of scientists, practitioners, and policymakers. In September 2017, 10 years later, the eFlows community again gathered at River Symposium to assess progress made over the past decade and to review the state of eFlows science and practice today. That event resulted in a new declaration that includes a slightly revised definition of environmental flows and a new global action agenda that's closely aligned with the Sustainable Development Goals. Professor Angela Arthington of Griffith University led the consultation and writing process for the new declaration and action agenda, and she joins us today via Skype from Brisbane, Australia. Welcome, Angela.
Hello, Michael. It's nice to see you again on my screen in Australia.
Angela, I understand that the process of developing the 2017 declaration was quite different from that taken in 2007. Can you describe the differences for us and help us understand the process that brought about the current declaration and global action agenda?
Well, in 2007, our plan was to have a group of people making notes and collating ideas throughout the whole 4-day River Symposium, and then in spaces of time talking through and producing a document. We didn't have a very clear idea of what sort of document it was going to be, but by the end of that symposium we had a statement, and it was read out in the last session by Ger Bergkamp. And the people who were present, and there were altogether over 800 people at that symposium, endorsed it in principle. Well, this time we decided that that was agonizing for that group of people trying to write and go to a conference and give talks all at the same time. So we started earlier, and we put, first of all, a call out on a LinkedIn site for comments from delegates to the next symposium for suggestions on how the declaration should change. And we received those and started to write a revised declaration. And that one eventually was placed on that site, and all the delegates were asked to read it, make notes on it, on a pinboard, on yellow stick-it notes, talk to me or any other member of the symposium planning session or any scientist they knew, and feed it all back to me. That happened. It was really helpful and interesting, and I took all those suggestions and made another draft. And then that draft was up for comment, and that received more comments. And at the same time, all of us who were writing it sent it out to our personal networks. And I also sent invitations to a lot of colleagues who couldn't come to Australia, and I also asked many colleagues to join the LinkedIn site so they could comment on it there. All of that material came to me, and I collated into the next version. And that version was again posted, and more comments were received. While this was happening, people on the writing team were sending me comments, and so eventually I drafted, over the last couple of months, another version which is near to the one we've got now, and that is pretty near to complete.
One of the greatest impacts of the 2007 declaration was the articulation of a consensus definition of environmental flows that's been used worldwide for the past decade. I understand that the new declaration slightly revises the definition. What is the new definition, and how does it reflect the latest, the state of the art of eFlows policy, science, and practice today?
Well, it's a good question, Michael, and it certainly was a challenge for the group of us and our consultants, our delegates, to come up with a revised definition. So we kept the good elements. Environmental flows describe the quantity, timing, and quality of freshwater flows, but we added and level. We feel that the definition has also changed slightly by the last 4 words, in the main body of it, which now state that healthy aquatic ecosystems are necessary to human cultures, economies, livelihoods and well-being. And that's slightly different. And the differences really are relating to human cultures. And throughout the global action agenda, we speak about riparian cultures, indigenous cultures, but we mean a broader concept than that, all cultures, and also economies and livelihoods. We've wanted to embrace the concept of the role of healthy aquatic ecosystems for people and for economies and well-being. We think that's important, that if we don't have that, we just sound like a conservation group, wanting just to protect and restore rivers. We can't protect all of them, we can't restore all of them. We have to make decisions about which ones. And often those decisions are going to be made in relation to people's belief systems, their expectations, their values, their economic drivers. What we want is a good outcome for ecosystems and people in every instance where it's possible to do so. Another point I wanted to make is that we've said a great deal more in the action plan about stimulating more attention to the needs of riparian peoples, indigenous cultures, and their rights and customary rituals for water use, including conservation. That's been a strong push from a couple of the authors of this document, and we feel it reflects a lot of action around the world and also the need for more action in that direction. So we feel that's a difference in the definition that flows through to the action agenda. And finally, we wanted to appeal overall to the broadest audience by really demonstrating that concerted efforts to provide environmental flows can lead to societal ecological outcomes that are economically beneficial.
And of course, the new Global Action Agenda is a key output of the process that you've led. What does that action agenda look like? What are the priorities for the coming years?
We decided to make some changes in the format of the plan, and the first difference is that we've listed the actions against each declaration statement. So for the audience responding to this declaration, there's a set of actions that explicitly informs or suggests or recommends what could be done to develop environmental flows and apply them according to the particular statement. Now, you will have those in front of you later on from a table, but the table actually is a complete summary of the declaration and the state and the leadership and the actions, and it's set out with a declaration and then a series of actions under three headings: leadership, management and research. And leadership is about policy and legislation, governance, setting up programs, leading the field from different levels of governments. Management is about implementation and everything that goes with it, so it sets out actions in response to the legislation and the governance and the policy. And then the research raises the questions that need to be addressed by a somewhat different community of people. Some of them are academic researchers, some of them are in agencies, some of them are in NGOs. One of the points we make in talking about this structure is that researchers need to be engaged with managers and with the leadership group, and leadership members and management managers need to be engaged with researchers. So it's a partnership approach. It's not discrete, separate entities. And I think that's what has been happening all along, but we've just made it much more clear by setting out the actions in this way.
All right. Well, Angela, I just wanted to say thank you again for taking the time to speak with me today. I, like so many folks, are just eagerly awaiting the publication of the final declaration and the action plan accompanying it. I'm going to do what I can to mobilize colleagues, students here, and participate in this process. And I know there are many others that are ready to do that as well. So thank you again.
Thank you, Michael. Very enjoyable. Thank you very much.